Hello and welcome back to How to Connect with Humans. This is Series 3, Episode 6. Hello Wayne, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. So it's starting to look a little bit like
Christmas?
it is! Or to be honest, any kind of celebration that you have around, and it's the end of the year. This is today 9? Yeah.
9th, yeah.
9th of December of 2020. And today we have somebody that we really love dearly. I really admire Terri. Terri Broughton was with me at the Clarity training with Jamie Smart. That's how we met. And I've got goosebumps because I remember there was something very special about Terri, very kind, very intriguing. And at the same time, there was so much I didn't know about Terri. And today I still realize there was so much I didn't know about Terri. And how amazing it was that she didn't have to go around telling us all, the stories of her life. And it's, of course, we've been together for a whole year. And what I saw in Terri's eyes is her passion to share the principles, her passion when she started teaching the principles to children, her passion about helping people. And then she went into probably an unexpected journey. So today, this is called a journey of creativity and discovery. And hello, Terri, how are you?
Oh, bless you. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. I'm very drawn to you too, as it happens. Very drawn. I loved your absolute innate warmth. And I remember the first time we met. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Where to start?
Well, I don't know if this is it's still sort of poking me. So because it's still poking me, we've never done this in this series, but we have a show reel about talking about sort of what you do and how you express yourselves and yourself. And so we're going to share this if you want to.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there. Let's see. So this is the first, and here we go.
This is Terri Broughton, an astonishing emerging British contemporary painter. Images that tell stories are as old as time. The most compelling images, created by mankind down the ages, come from a place deep in the soul of their creator and resonate with those that see them. They strike a chord, they create a connection. It is their ambiguity that paradoxically sheds light on a deeper meaning, a universal truth that we as human beings understand at a subconscious level. It is why we are today able to connect on a mystical, spiritual and human level with cave paintings created thousands of years ago. Terri Broughton is part of that continuum of artists who tell stories that are deeply personal but reveal universal truths that we can all relate to. The power of her paintings is the result of the artful deployment of allegory, symbolism and metaphor. On one level, her paintings are illustrative, but on another they harbour a deeper, darker meaning waiting for the viewer to reinterpret for themselves. So a young girl in the corner of a room wearing a gas mask is a cipher, hinting obliquely at a personal trauma. A despondent man wearing a dress that doesn't fit him, sitting on a step, is equally disturbing. However, while we, the viewers, are not privy to Broughton's traumas, she has sensitively constructed these images so that we are able to draw on our own emotions to create an empathetic connection. Broughton comes from a long line of artists. Her father was a professional painter. Both her mother and her father died when Broughton was just 7 years old, and she and her 2 sisters endured years of foster homes and living with distant relatives. They were eventually split up, only to meet again in adulthood. It is the trauma of those early years that have informed her paintings, and it has taken the best part of 50 years for her to begin to exorcise those demons as allegorical stories in paint. Broughton is an emerging artist to watch. She has sprung fully formed from the Norfolk Painting School, having completed the school's year-long diploma, a testament to the rigorous teaching of Martin Kinnear, one of Britain's leading contemporary painters. Broughton has always wanted to be a painter, but was consistently told that her father was a painter and that she was not. Now, 1 year under the tutelage of Kinnear has opened the floodgates, and powerful, moving, and sometimes disturbing paintings have come pouring out. Armed with a solid technical grounding in classical painting, as well as modern and contemporary painting, she is proving to be astonishingly accomplished. Her métier is telling stories through her paintings, but these are stories that the viewer must ponder on and decipher for themselves. Broughton's contemporary style is strongly influenced by Paul Arago, Lucian Freud, Andrew Salgado, Jenny Saville and Joan Erdley, all masters of the art of telling stories through paint. So what was Broughton doing about her artistic dream for 50 years, while harbouring her ambition to become a painter? Well, first she ran away to join the circus, looking after performing dogs. Then at the age of 35, she went back into education, becoming an art therapist, a school teacher, and then a head teacher of a large Norfolk academy. Along the way, she collected a first-class honours degree in ceramics and an award-winning MA entitled The Identity Project, which radically changed the way children are taught at primary and secondary level, and is still a key part of the national curriculum today. Broughton is a highly qualified education consultant, as well as a life coach and trainer, but has now added a career as a professional painter to her impressive list of accomplishments.
Thank you for sharing that. I haven't seen it myself for a long time now.
That's quite something, isn't it?
Even when that was filmed, I just feel like the journey has continued so much further since then. It's so crazy, isn't it? It said on the on that show reel that my MA is in it's in adolescent development and its relationship then to art and design education. And there's a sort of long story that led up to it. So pre-35, I guess, before going into the world of education, I genuinely thought that I was a bit stupid. I'd received those sort of messages growing up that nothing much should be expected of me, that I couldn't really learn. And I started off, and I was so drawn to the arts, and I wouldn't pick up a paintbrush. My father was a painter, and I was continually told, "You're not a painter, your father was a painter." And I believed it with every fibre of my body. In fact, it wasn't even I believe it, I knew it. I knew it to be true. But I took myself eventually off to college and did an A-level in pottery, which was sort of still involving the arts. But anyway, they made quite a fuss of me then, and I went on to do a BTEC. And then I had my 2 children, a single parent, and I had the opportunity to go off and take a degree. And by then I'd met my now husband. We've been married for over 30 years now. And oh my word, it was like a whole new world, a whole new horizon opening up. A world that I've never known or seen, but there's still something about that smell of white spirit that does it for me, that smell of oil paint, because it reminds me of a time when when I did have a father. And so I came out of that degree not really being sure of what I was doing, and I went into art therapy because I've had a passion my whole life really to find out what makes people do the things they do, how we function, before any principles training at all. And then one day I was in something called a snooze room with some of the clients, and very soft lighting, soft music, and I was stroking one, his name was Gary, one man's head. And the thought at that time dawned on me, I think we've all got special needs, not just the labelled special needs in this room. I think we all have needs. And my son has a label of having Asperger's syndrome, but which is a form of autism on the autistic spectrum. But I didn't know that. I knew that he wasn't a typical student at school. He didn't fit any kind of norm, but a wonderful lad. And I didn't know what was going on. And so I decided to go into the world of education to find out what was happening, because I've got a very high-flying daughter, very popular at school, very artistic, and lots of positive feedback from teachers about Amy, my daughter. And then I'd go and see teachers about Sam, and they were like, can't you keep your child under control? What's going on here? And I thought, isn't it interesting that he's got the same parents, same parenting, but different responses? And so I took a year to take a GCSE maths in order to get to do a postgraduate certificate of education to become a teacher. And then I remember seeing the special needs register and thinking, oh, I think I can do something with this. So then I felt slightly more empowered to support my son. But in that time, the first thing I noticed in going into it was a community college in Leicestershire. So it was year 10 to 13, a bit like an exam factory. But the first thing that hit me was the artwork of the children. And I felt like the biggest fraud because I was a potter. I wasn't a painter. And I told myself this constantly. And I had to be a lesson ahead if I was teaching art. Because the voice in my head was so loud, like, well, that's not for you. But it was okay to talk to children about it. They weren't children, they were young men and women, really. But I noticed that on the wall there were kind of vases of flowers, pop groups, self-portraits. I didn't know what it told me about these students, and I do have a love for people, and I think I said earlier, you know, what makes them tick. And so I, in my very first year of teaching for my sins, embarked on this master's degree, nicknamed the Identity Project, and it was about adolescent development and its relationship then to art and design education in schools. Because I thought, how does this serve them? Apart from showing students how to jump through hoops. And so there were a few parts to the question. It was, how do you see yourself? How would you like to be seen? And if they had time, it was, how do you think other people see you? And again, no training of the principles or thought or consciousness, or it was just something I felt really strongly about. And so I had an AS, first year A-level group. And I just started to ask them, where do you have an opportunity to look at your own values and your beliefs and where they come from? And they said, well, unless we get a really good tutor, we don't. And then I asked the staff, and they more or less said the same thing. And so I told them about this project. We had some conversations, no teaching, just some conversations, and really connected with the students. And they were totally up for doing this project. But what I didn't know at the time was how involved they would become. And so instead of, it used to be that you would teach art and a student would do some art history, and they would come up with eventually do some sketches, work through their ideas and come up with a final piece. And in this situation, they were doing those things, but when they finished their piece, or this is how I'm feeling, this is how I see myself, as the project was going on, they were saying, Terri, I don't see myself like this now. I see myself like this now. And as their thinking changed, their images changed. So some of those students had 6, 7, 8 finished amazing pieces of artwork. You could see a journey as their thinking was changing. And then something else I hadn't accounted for was that they started to write poetry. They started to keep journals. I had letters on my desk in the morning, and some of them were anonymous. Really insightful, beautiful, intelligent students who all got very good grades because they were so into what they were doing, and they felt like it wasn't just passing an exam. It was for them and it was about them. And I thought, well, what would happen? What would happen if I took this project to a primary school? Would they come up? Because throughout this project, there were people telling me that they had anorexia and various other problems that were happening that I would never have known had I just walked into a classroom as a teacher and taught my lesson. And we were able to support these students. And some, first year of teaching, some I'm still in touch with today, amazing, amazing people. So then I went to a primary school and asked the same questions. How do you see yourself? And so year 1, we're doing things like producing amazing, brightly coloured butterflies with glitter, and it was amazing. And the difference between these teenagers and these primary school young children was incredible. And so I just kept asking myself, what is happening? What is going on here? And I've realised since that we educate our children, and that's what's happening. And then I thought, well, what would happen if I go out to an old people's home and ask old people? I've got such an inquiring mind. I am really curious. So I asked older people and had quite a different response again in the sort of later years of their life. And then we had an amazing exhibition right the way through the ages called The World Begins With Me. But again, I knew nothing about these principles. I just knew that I had a love for people and what makes them do the things they do. I wanted to understand. Some of my past experience hasn't been great. And I still wonder what makes those people do the things that they do. Anyway, that project was written into the national curriculum, and it's in every school today, and it could be throughout. I think it's from primary to secondary, and it's used in different ways. And what was fascinating about it is that students who weren't taking an A-level in art, and because it was a community college, we didn't close until sort of 9, 10 o'clock in the evening, and students who weren't taking the A-level then started to come to me through their friends to say, can we please do this project? So it was like an extracurricular project for these students, and some of them had been school refusers or were not engaged with school. And so I was there from quite early in the morning till gone 9 at night, working with, doing my normal lessons, but working with these students and then extra students. So that really sparked something off in my head, really. It really got me very, very curious. So I started to look into the world of coaching. When I left this particular school, I was there for 6 or 7 years. I moved to Norfolk. And I felt so connected to the staff and the students. I wasn't really keen at the time to come back to Norfolk. I love it here. But at the time I wasn't keen. It's when my husband was born and he wanted to go home. And my thinking at that time is, I don't have any roots, I don't have a home, then I should go back. I should go back to Norfolk. So we came here. And long story short, I had a nervous breakdown. So I had 6 months where I could not work. I did not function. I didn't know why people did the jobs that they did. I felt like I had a bungee on my back, and I was trying to force my way forward. And I was very good at looking out and supporting other people. I just had no idea how to do it from this way. Anyway, eventually I went back into education. And during that time, I started to look at self-development. And so I took a certificate in coaching, in counselling. And in order to do that, I needed counselling for a full year. And I found that when I went in to see this lovely woman, I just kept telling the same story. Each month I would tell the same story, and I would come home and I'd feel terrible for a month. And then I would go back and tell the same story again, or trying to tell it from a different point of view, because I did feel a bit of a victim. And I noticed that, you know, coaching and counselling in the right place is very effective. But for me at that time, I needed something else. I just didn't know what it was I needed. And then 6 months later, I got another job, and I looked at the world of neuro-linguistic programming. So I became a practitioner of NLP, and I was very interested in what they were saying. And then I did a master practitioner course, and I wrote a course for students, young students, year 7. And it was all about learning to learn. And again, it was coming back to the identity project, but just in a different guise, so that they felt cared for, nurtured, able to stand in front of a group of people, looking at sort of philosophy and psychology and sociology, as well as teaching art. And we had 2 groups in year 7. One group took drama and the other group came to learning to learn. And we noticed that the grades of the learning to learn students rose exponentially. It was incredible. So from then on, all students had the learning to learn program. And that was because I had this kind of master practitioner NLP. And then I thought, oh, I need to be a trainer. That's not enough. I don't know enough. I need to be a trainer of NLP. So I went off, never enough, went off to be a trainer, all the time trying to fix myself too. But somehow, not quite doing it. I had moments of clarity, and then I would fall back into my own personal thinking. And then I remember on my training course, my trainer of NLP course, I would go in the morning and I'd say to, good morning, say to the person greeting me at the door, good morning, how are you? And he'd say, I'm fine, how are you today? And I'd say, I'm good, thank you. And he would say, only good, come on, you're better than that. And I just used to scratch my head. I was like, well, I'm not better than that, actually. I'm good, and good is good enough, I think. And I know it sounds really silly, but that was kind of what was on my mind. It's like, well, even good isn't good enough somehow. This is the story I told myself. But I went back into school, and then I set up a coaching group at school to train people to be coaches. And this ran through several years, really. Taught people to be trainer or to be a coach. But for me, still something was missing, but I didn't know what it was. And then I was invited to join a school as the coaching director of teaching and learning, because I'm passionate about teaching and learning. So the arts education was sort of falling by the way. And in all of that time, I didn't paint. But I encouraged people to paint, and I encouraged them to do what they wanted to do, basically. So I was invited into this academy as coaching director of teaching and learning. And I took all of the in-service training off timetable, because I really wanted the teachers, whether they were the cleaners, whether they were the cooks, whether they were admin staff, whether they were middle or senior leaders, everybody to be having conversations. The school at the time was failing. It was seen as a failing school. I met the most amazing people in this school. So that's what we did. I remember my brief was to turn the culture of a school around. One person doesn't do that. It takes a whole body of people to be able to do that. And those staff, those students did brilliantly. When I first was going into classrooms, I remember students in front of me saying, "Do you like what she's wearing?" It's awful. But culminating in when I left, them saying, "Come on in, miss, do you want to see what we're learning?" It was like a whole different scenario. The grades went from 18% in the first year to 48%. Same teachers, same students. So something had shifted, and I was aware of that, but still that wasn't enough. And so I thought, I need to, there's still something missing. So I took something called an Institute of Leadership and Management Executive Coaching and Mentoring course. This will do it. And all the time I'm seeking and searching, because there's still something missing for me. I remember reading a poem. It's gone out of my mind. But I would read it like I was a preacher, because I really wanted these kids to know that they were good enough, that they weren't broken, they didn't need fixing. But I read it like I was in a pulpit. It would be read so differently now, so much more gently. But eventually I retired from my post in that school. And then my option was, this is very typical of me, to go and do a doctorate in coaching, because there was still something else to learn. But I saw an advert in, I think I got an email maybe I'd been on a weekend course from Jamie Smart. And there was something that resonated with me in that email. And so I contacted a man called Johnny Bowden, who you know. Okay. And I just said, look, my pension isn't great. I didn't go into education until late. I've got X amount of money and I can be doing this doctorate. What would you do in my shoes? Anyway, Johnny being Johnny persuaded me to go on to the Clarity training course. And so I did. And my first weekend learning about these 3 principles, I wanted to know where the hints, the tips, the tools, the techniques, where were they? And I walked into the room and I remember seeing people hugging each other, loving each other. And I just thought, this is not for me. I was used to sort of an educational setting. I'm not sure that this is for me. And by the break time, I was crying in the ladies' loos. And unlike me, I mean, a little bit about me, Carolina, I'm pretty stoic at the best of times. And I came out saying, I don't want to be on this course, it's not for me. And I remember there was an exercise where 2 people sat opposite. There were 2 people sat together opposite one person. We had to pretend a glass screen had come down in between. And I spoke about an issue. And my issue was that I was going to train some people to be coaches in a primary school in Westminster on the Monday. Now, this was the Saturday training, and I was beside myself nervous. I told myself, you can only teach in secondary schools. That's what you know. And this exercise where the plexiglass screen came down, I remember the couple that were there saying, well, she's coming from a place of ego. And I thought, now I've got an ego. Now it's my ego. So not only was I going to get everything wrong, but my ego was getting in the way. And I was reinterpreting everything that was being spoken about in that room. I remember a beautiful man standing up talking about a relationship breakup. And I thought, well, he clearly understands what's going on. And then somebody else spoke about how his bride left him on their honeymoon. It was such a sad story. And I remember thinking, I'm embarrassed because I'm speaking, but I just remember thinking, well, you've got it together now. I just thought everybody had the answer but me. I was this loud voice in my head. So I turn up for the coaching training in a school on the Monday. I just wanted to faint. I just wanted to get out of there. I had my carefully prepared PowerPoints, all of my notes spread across the stage, big screen, very organised. And I started speaking, and something happened that morning. Something happened, and I just fell out of my own thinking. I got out of my own way, really, probably for the first time. When I was in a classroom teaching and connecting with students, I was out of my own way. But when I felt it was about me, I was in my own way. And I just remember stopping the slides, putting my pen down, and I just remember a question I asked at that time. And I said to the staff, and this was all staff again, so it was the caretaker and the head and everything, all staff. I said, do you think that in your school, primary students come in broken and in need of fixing? Is that your job? And every single one of them without fail said, no, we don't think that. We don't think that. Some of them come from terrible circumstances, but we don't think that they need fixing. And I remember going over to the flip chart, and I drew a diamond on the flip chart. And I said, well, if I drew this and said, this is how your children are, kind of pure like a little diamond, different facets, different people, but like this little diamond. And I could just see these nods going on. I've never said this in my life. I could just see these nods going around the room. And then I was saying, well, you've mentioned some of the homes they come from. I would have been one of those children. They will be picking up things all the time. It's like picking up lumps of poo and smearing it around the diamond. And the more messages we get from kind of media, from family, from friends, from wherever we pick them up, we should be like this, and we can should all over ourselves, and that's what we do around the diamond. We decide that that's us then. And I could still see this agreement around the room. And as I was thinking on my feet, I was thinking, yeah. And then I drew some varnish around the poo. And I said, as professionals and people in all walks of life don't want people to see the poo. And so we put this varnish around there, nice and glossy, and we hope that it doesn't crack, because that's the image we'd like to present. God forbid it should crack. Anyway, the training went on. It wasn't like any other training I'd ever given. And I can't even tell you what I said, because the day came and went, and there was a beautiful connection in the room, beautiful people. The head asked if I would then be her, which in fact she said, do you know a good coach? And I said, I'll go and see if I can find one. I didn't even offer my services, but anyway, I became her coach. And on the train on the way home on that day, this, what I've learned to call and know as wisdom now, I said to myself, do you really believe, do you genuinely believe what you were saying in that room? Because it's just you and me now, Terri. There's no one here to impress. Do you believe it or not? And I remember thinking, yeah, I really believe that. I do believe that. I don't think we're broken. I don't think we need fixing. I really genuinely believe that. And clever old wisdom said, well, is it true for you then? Is that understanding true for you? And I can honestly say to you, I didn't know it was. And I heard this little voice say, because if it's not true for you, then it can't be true, can it? And you've shot your own theory. It's either true or it's not true. Well, that was the first insight I ever had. I came home, just total quiet in my head. And I was sitting where I am now, and this is a garden room and there's plants outside. I didn't just see those plants. I saw all the nuances, all the different colours. I saw the veins. It was just like everything was in Technicolor. And then I spoke to my husband about it. He was a bit perplexed because I might come home saying, oh, you never guess what happened today. It was totally different. I was just so quiet. And then I remember getting up maybe 6 o'clock the next morning and going to our local beach, just walking. I just wanted to be in nature. That's all I wanted. I felt so connected to nature, to life, to myself. Carolina, I didn't know that was possible. So for all of my training, for everything I had strived for before, that was the first insight I had. And even coming on this call tonight, I had a little bit of thinking beforehand, but nothing like I once would have had. Nothing. Because I know that Sid says you can't share what you haven't got. Share from where you are, and that's all I've got. And that's okay, it's enough. I was on a plane coming back from America with my husband, and it was such a scary ride. We were up at something like 38,000 feet, and there was a lot of turbulence, and the plane kept dropping. People were being sick. People behind me were screaming loudly, really loudly. And I remember saying to my husband, do you think we could die? I didn't have the kind of, oh my God, we're going to die feeling. It was just a question. I'm not saying I wasn't scared. I felt the feelings. I remember him saying, we've had a good life. I thought, that's not very helpful. And then they took the plane up to something like 40,000 feet, and eventually the pilot came over the tunnel. It seemed to take ages. And he said, planes are built for resilience. And I don't think I've ever seen big, large jets, wings flap, but they were flapping. We could see them flapping. Still this screaming. And it just really hit me. Yeah, just like us. Just like us. Planes are built for resilience, just like us. And amazingly, we were probably one of the scariest rides I've been on. The other one was with Dave Ellery and Jenny Anderson, but just the same, we're built, we have that resilience within us. Isn't that amazing? So prior to the principles, and even when coaching with this understanding, I remember saying to Liz on our course, I would love to paint, but I think I'll be a storyteller. I love telling stories. And I was coaching, and I had an absolute blind spot because I didn't know that the resilience included painting. Pick up a paintbrush, Terry. Just pick it up. And so 2 years ago now, I went to join that course that it speaks about in that show reel. It seems so long ago now. And I used to stand near the front of the room because I didn't want anyone to see how anxious I was. And even getting to go there, he said, can I see some of your artwork? And I showed the students' identity project I said, this isn't me, this is my students, this is what I teach. Anyway, he still let me in. And I stood at the front of the room so that I wouldn't compare myself to others. And I was telling you before that we were copying works of great masters. I use the term loosely, having a go at. And I came home, and then something else occurred to me. And I started painting fairly small children wearing gas masks. And my husband came into the studio and said, Terri, we live in Norfolk. People want beach huts and boats. Don't do this. You know, what would you do this for? But it felt right. And I just haven't put my paintbrush down. And you know what? It doesn't matter if the work is good or bad. It doesn't even need a label. The work is what it is. I'm a learning machine. I'm learning all the time. I don't have anything on other people's comments. The interesting thing is that people contact me to say, oh, this piece of work really resonated with me, and they tell me why. That's always lovely to hear. That's not the reason for doing it. This time it's for me. It really is. And if you're interested, if we've got the time, I'll tell you how the gas masks came about. So all the paintings have a story, and I don't always know what the stories are before I start painting, but they just seem to keep coming. But the gas masks came about because, trying to cut a long story short, my father has a brother who's in his 80s, who I didn't meet until I was maybe 16-ish. I'd been put with another set of foster parents when I was 15, and I started to try and find out where some of my own roots were on my father's side. And first time I met him, he'd got a face on both of his kneecaps and a split in his jeans. And I thought, you're my kind of man. He's also very arty. Anyway, he also had a sister who was 90 recently, and she died. And so I have two sisters. When I was 6, I came home and my mother didn't exist anymore. She'd died. And then I went to school. And then I came home again, and my oldest sister didn't exist. She'd been sent to a children's home, but I couldn't make sense of it in my head. And then I was living with some other people, being told that I would go home to my father, but then my father didn't exist. And so people just kept disappearing. And that, along with other situations, formed my kind of model of the world at the time. I didn't dare get close to people because they disappeared. And then I lived with another sister, my middle sister, for a short time in pretty impossible circumstances. And so she ran away from where we were. And eventually I was taken away from that situation. And so when I was told my father died, my sister I was told, your father's dead and gone to heaven. If you don't cry, I will take you out on Sunday. They were the words. And I remember thinking, well, the answer is not to cry. I was very young, very stoic. I didn't cry, and I did want to go out on Sunday. But I remember seeing my sister cry and being comforted. So fast forward, my aunt died. And my husband and I went to the funeral, and my father's brother, who's in his 80s, was there. And I was sat next to him, very upright. And this was with this understanding. And I wanted my husband to put his hand on my leg or around my shoulder just to comfort me. But I found that I couldn't ask for that. My uncle was this side of me, very upright, very stoic, very upset, but showing nothing. And I just glanced around like this, and I saw my middle sister crying and her husband. I wasn't crying, but and her husband was comforting her and loving her, and I thought, oh, reminds me of when I was a child. Then we went to the wake afterwards, and we came outside, and there were all the flowers and the plants, and my daughter drew alongside me, and I don't remember her being there. And I took myself off and I went and sat in a car, and I was watching everything from a distance, feeling very much isolated, not a part of the circumstances. And then we met my daughter and son for a drink. We came home with my son and his girlfriend, and that was the end of it. But I had this awful, awful feeling, almost like not worthy of love. I know different, but I lost sight of this understanding. My husband was chatting at the table, and I'd said something like to my son, "You are love, Sam. You're a beautiful person." And I was saying these things to him. And he processes information in quite an unusual way, not a typical way. And he was very upset about something. So my husband took him and his girlfriend to the station. Meanwhile, I'm still up in my head. And my husband points at me and says, "You need to remember your son has Asperger's syndrome," like I would forget. So I was not a happy bunny. For the next 4 days, I could not work out what was going on in relation to the principles, to mind, thought, and consciousness, I just wasn't getting any of it. So I think what I'm saying is, even with this understanding, I still have times when I just don't see it. Mostly I can, sometimes I don't. But I do get this little wise voice that crops up. And so I heard this little voice say to me, "Come on, Terri, there's something to learn here. What is there to learn here?" And I remember thinking, and you can shut up. Nothing for me to learn. Because I was so self-righteous and so in my own thinking. And very gently again, "Come on, Terri, there's something to learn here." And over the 4 days is the longest I can ever remember this happening. But over this 4 days, slowly, I started to see things. And then I thought, this is like going into a room, feeling like there's going to be a tremendous attack, putting on your gas mask. And there's still this, "Come on, Terri, come on, there's more to learn, there's more to learn." And I thought, well, it's like putting on a gas mask and then putting barbed wire around your gas mask and then putting razor blades on the barbed wire and then taking yourself into your little cave and then putting a boulder across the door. And I was saying to myself, well, I'm just protecting myself. And I just heard this voice saying, well, how can anyone reach in there? How can anyone even know that you're there? How is that going to be possible? That insight helped me to realize what I do in those kind of situations. It's not happened. This was a few years back. It's not happened since. But that was the start of the gas mask paintings. And then a whole pile of things came out. And so I am so grateful for my life. I'm so grateful for the experiences that I've had. And I'm even grateful for when I don't see it, because there's always something else. There's always something else to learn. And I did have a bit of thinking before this call tonight. I thought, I've got nothing to say. But I can tell you now, there is nothing. I don't have the self-talk. I just feel really right here and right now. And this is what I know, and this is what I have. I said to you earlier, maybe I'll die with a paintbrush in my hand. What a thought that is. but I won't stop coaching, and I won't stop painting. As far as I know, who knows? I don't know what's next, but I have found a peace and a contentment that I would have told you for me wasn't going to be possible. And conversations with Jan and Chip, you know, Jan was such a wonderful mentor. You know, I've spoken to so many wonderful, beautiful people who I think also fall in and out of the understanding, because we're human. We're going to feel anger and sadness and fear and guilt and complete and utter joy. And sometimes I feel extremes of those things. And it's all okay. I feel more, you know, I feel like we make heaven. You know, the physical and the spiritual, it's like it's one and the same. I'm just so grateful.
Oh, Terri, you had us absolutely. I got so emotional while you were talking. Luckily, I don't have to put a brave face, you know. And I think the thing is that I sort of seen, I've been following sort of what was happening with you and what we're doing, and it's been incredible to see. And during the first quarantine, I've been following Terri's work, and I've been absolutely loving what she's done. So before that, so Terri puts together her first exhibition. He works really hard to put her first exhibition together, where these painting with the children with the masks were. And I mean, I'm going to tell what I know, but then you can add whatever you want to add. And then the people at the exhibition look at her work and we're like, oh, no, we can't. We can't show this, and it gets banned. And we don't understand what's happened there, because we're all having this build up, like, you know, seeing Terri working and showing what she's, and so that was disappointing. Also, was sort of, I don't know how you lived it, but it was so surprising. And
what was fascinating is that, yeah, there was a big build up to the exhibition. I was so naive as well. You know, I know a little bit more now. I didn't even know how much to charge for anything. I was going to put some paintings in a room. I was just so pleased that you had to write a personal statement to do the diploma. And my personal statement was, I hope by the end of this course to put one picture on my wall. I wouldn't have even thought that was possible. Now they're kind of all over the place. So a bit of naivety on my part. But when I spoke to the manager who'd banned the exhibition, he just said, we thought that you'd be okay. And, you know, we thought that you were all right. And I said, well, are you saying that I'm not all right? He said, we used to run a school and everything. It's like, oh. There was no nudity. just gas masks.
Well, thank God for all of us that you didn't put that paintbrush down.
Oh, it did me a favour, Carolina, because it was in the newspapers and on the radio, and people became interested, and you know, and now I have a piece at the Royal Academy of Art. It's like, who knew? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, because, like, you know, a lot of people know you in the Christmas community, and I think who didn't know you started knowing you, because we all started posting and then going like, oh, what on earth? And so that happened, and you kept painting and you kept painting. And then there was a piece of yours, I think it was one piece, then made it somewhere very special. And it was in the winter exhibition. So and this is just you can say it so I don't make a mistake on. So it was at the Royal
Royal Academy.
Yeah. So so during this whole thing, basically, also we have the quarantines and COVID, and so during we sort of start our first series, or we're about to do that, and I got very inspired about your story. I started painting with my daughter about something 2 years ago or something like that, and then I'm telling her the story, because during quarantine we painted a lot, about you and what happened, and I'm showing her your paintings. And then I start looking, and in the corner of your paintings with the kids and the face masks, there's this green thing with spikes. And I sent a message to Terri, and I said, Terri, have you seen this? It was the exact image of when they show us the COVID virus sort of under the microscope, and the whole thing about breathing and mask. Like, suddenly I thought, like what? I said, so I went back on your post, and I was like, this was painted way before any of this came into our world, our consciousness. And in a way it was quite cute, because I think I haven't talked to Terri for a while, but that connected us at that point. And you are such an inspiration.
Thank you.
And I think what I think we find most amusing is what we're starting to see behind those masks, and how you're telling your story, and you're telling stories. And I think it would be a good point to see if anybody wants to ask questions or share something. Do you want to say something?
I think for me, what I've seen more recently, and especially with you tonight, Terri, is the fact that I see you now, and I see this amazing woman that's doing amazing work, and I just I'm just really kind of like, well, Terri's got it together, here we go, and I'm just like, within the principles, I'm like, well, they've, everyone's got it together. It kind of seems like everyone's at a place where they're happy now, kind of thing, and you don't really see what's happened previous. And for me, it's so amazing to kind of hear you speak, and to kind of tell your story, and how you've kind of got through it, and how you are where you are today, and how amazing and resilient you are.
Thanks, Wayne. And I'm happy when I'm happy, and I'm not happy when I'm not happy. We are all, that is, Sid calls it the cosmic joke, doesn't he? I mean, it is a joke, because we think this person's got it. We're just doing our human thing. That's what we're doing. But what really helped me is, it's like, oh, I'm not broken. I don't need, and my whole life has been spent supporting other people, wanting them to feel great in any way that I can make that happen. I just didn't include me in it. And all the time it did include me. I just didn't know it did. It's crazy, isn't it? And And that's what's wonderful about I think what you're doing is amazing, and thank you for inviting me. I really do, just to share with other people, but just to see the humanness of it all. I listened to several of your previous talks. I'm in awe. I think, oh my word, I would love to be able to articulate it this way or this way, but I've got my way. That's what I've got. It's not better, it's not worse. There's no markers and different things. It's like your painting. Some people will relate, some people won't, and it's all okay. We're okay.
They're like the plane. They're designed for turbulence and and flying nice and steady. And I guess there are no right and wrong colors in your palette, are they? Do you have a selection of paint, like colors, that you just go like, no, you are staying there because you are the bad ones, you're the naughty ones. I'm only painting with this selection.
All welcome. Just what works, and it is in the moment. It's like what works. There's some kind of technical things that I need to look at, but
I guess then you're happy to go pick up whatever, like a toothbrush or a put your husband in a dress.
Very close friends partner. Really good sport. Really good sport.
So I can see that there are no right or wrong feelings, or we're designed for the full palette. So I would really want to see if people, you can unmute yourselves or you can put your hand up. Please do share or ask, or if you don't want to ask it yourself, you can write it on the chat and we can ask that for you.
No, I welcome anything, really. Welcome questions.
Yeah. Susie Spence, and you unmute yourself.
Hello, Susie.
Hello.
Hi, darling.
How lovely to hear you. That's not actually all I need to say. Yeah, you always resonate so deeply with me. I remember you speaking on the Clarity weekend, and you speaking first definitely started my journey in starting to see who I was. Definitely starting. But actually what I'm about to ask is connected to that. I didn't quite grasp what enabled you to pick up the paintbrush. I know you said it was just suddenly seeing that resilience applies everywhere. So it was that feeling that no matter what you did or what happened, how it turned out, you'd be okay. Was that it?
Yeah.
What?
No, it's a really good question, because it's like going from 0 to 60 in a second.
Yeah.
And it was literally that. It was just the thought. Well, does it really matter what it looks like? Does it really matter whether somebody likes it or not? Does it really matter? What if you just played? What would prevent you? It's kind of all the old coaching questions, but asking again, this wisdom is amazing. Like, I genuinely do have this small, it's like a small, still voice that just is like a never shouting, just a nudge. Sometimes I don't want to hear it, and it still nudges me. And yeah, I mean, it was, well, what would prevent you? And it's like, well, nothing would. And this was after 60 years. And suddenly it's like, actually nothing would. But at the beginning, I've got a little studio on the house, and Tony would bring in people because he was proud. He's like, look what Terri's done. And it's like, please don't bring people in here. So I still have my own thinking. And I still quite like that space. But I don't have any thinking about what people, I mean, I'm untidy, bit of thinking about that. You know, it was that 0 to 60, you know, what would happen if you did? practice what you preach. It's okay. But I didn't, it was literally a blind spot. I couldn't see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd love to tell you it was more complicated, but it wasn't. It was literally just that thought.
Yeah, no, I can see it. I can see it. Yeah, I can see it. It's sort of, it's just, I have a bit of a blind spot with writing, and it's the same thing. I can feel it in my throat even when I'm saying it. Yeah. It's the same. And yeah, I look back to some writing I did like a few years ago. I found a couple of days ago, and it was sort of, that was really good. I was like, wow, that was really good. And yet I remember at the time thinking it was so appalling. And yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Don't we? Do you have something to say?
Yeah. Yeah, I have so much to say.
And me too, Susie. I had so much I wanted to say, and I thought it would be through telling stories. When I speak to you, even now, I already know you've got lots to say. And I knew it in the Clarity training room. And I knew it when we were on a retreat.
Mm.
What
you have, of course, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's entirely up to you whether you choose to write or not. I remember Jamie saying to me once, I was going to do some public speaking, and I was very nervous, and it was maybe 12 o'clock at night. And bless him, he jumped on the line, and he said, this is like you being in your own horror movie, taking a front row seat, watching the film on repeat, and you being the actor and the producer and the writer and the pixel on the screen, and outside the cinema, there's a whole world just getting on with itself. There's crickets singing, and in that moment, that did help me with the speaking that I was about to go and do. It's like we're just creating all this stuff. It's not even a thing. It's not even there. It is an illusion.
Yeah.
And clearly writing means something to you.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
But it still feels like such a sort of indulgence. It's that sort of which is sort of weird. And then someone else comes along who I can help, so it gets put off. It's that thing the whole time.
Yeah, I totally relate to what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's very hypocritical.
But the only way you're going to do it is to pick up a pen or to open your laptop.
Yeah. Even
when I started painting, I said to my daughter, she'll be 40 next year, she's not little. I said, does this make me a painter, Amy? I'm picking up a paintbrush and I'm putting paint onto a canvas. Does that mean, I wanted to label it. Does this mean I am a painter? Like, give me a label so I can understand. And she said, well, do you think it makes you a painter? I was like, not yet. No, I clearly need more practice. And I don't even question it. I just go in and I paint. It's not even, maybe you write. Maybe you just write. Maybe you don't have to label it. It's just something that you do, or you choose not to do. But you do have a choice.
Yeah. My choice, no one else's. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For me, it's just, I've just found a freedom, of expression that and I used to teach it.
Yeah.
Always for everybody else, always for somebody else, but for me now, I can do it. And I hope people can relate, and it's okay if they can't.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of love, Susie. Good to see you.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing stuff. Yeah, something's going on. Thank you. So lovely to see you.
See you soon.
We love you so much.
Can I thank you so much, Terri, for sharing your story tonight? I haven't got a question, but it's been refreshing, and I've just been gripped. It's the most unusual principle talk I've ever heard. The way you talk about things, and there's something captivating about you. I don't know. It's like I don't know what I mean. From the minute that story went at the very beginning, that was amazing. That story that was told about you, and whoever narrated that so beautifully. And then I'm quite sort of fascinated. I'm just watching you, and I'm hearing the words, but I'm also watching the way you deliver them. And I think you remind me of Julie Andrews or Mary Poppins or something. I'm not quite sure what it is.
I think I could be least like either of them. How funny, bless you. Thank you.
But yeah, it's been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Hi, Terri.
Hello.
Hi, it's so good to listen to you. I was looking forward to this actually, and I think it's wonderful that Carolina and Wayne, had you on the list. In fact, I think it just occurred to me as you were speaking that we don't actually hear you enough. The community doesn't hear you enough. You should be more out there. Not that, now that should be your
Oh no, wait, we can't hear you for whatever reason. Lily, unmute yourself again.
Sorry, I don't know how long when you stopped listening, but I think was it from the beginning that you couldn't hear me?
No, from what you were
right.
we haven't heard much enough of Terri.
Yes. I think I love to hear you more, to see you and hear you more, because there's such richness in what you give when you speak. And of course, we get to see your work. And every time I see a new painting, I think, oh my God, I saw the last one was yesterday. And now there is another one. And I'm amazed. I'm blown away by how productive you are. Effortlessly, there is an effortless kind of feel about your artwork. It just comes out of you, and it's like this river of amazing creativity that keeps flowing through you. So, and I think it's very important. It's very meaningful what you do. And I know you're not attached to the outcome, but it has to be said from my angle, from what I'm seeing. I think it's strong, and it's important, and it's beautiful, and it's real, and it's it's very special. And there's another thing that came up, is that we met each other a few times here and there, and then we connected somehow. I feel very connected to you. And even before we look into what you do as an artist, if we put that to one side, it's almost as if that's just a cherry on top. I think there is a beautiful presence that comes through your art, but the art is just the byproduct, or a beautiful implication of the way you show up in life. So I didn't know you were an artist when I met you, but I already saw your art, even if it wasn't on canvas.
I didn't know I was an artist when we met. So thank you.
So very different levels I'm seeing tonight in terms of potential for human beings, and that includes myself, which is kind of nice because I'm not excluded, even though I sometimes think I am. So that's really, really special. I'm glad I jumped on this, and then I my battery went, and then I reconnected again, and it's beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And yeah, I look forward. Well, I'll continue enjoying the connection we share, and in whichever way it comes.
How's your
Thank you.
boy?
Pardon?
Oh
yes, you met my. He was one as well. That's a good point. My son Milo was on a retreat in Spain with Terri, and I wasn't really calling him, but then when I did eventually speak, he said, there is this beautiful lady with white hair, and I had the most amazing session with her, he said, and or exchange. I don't know what you guys did on that retreat, and he remembers you.
I feel very connected to him. Beautiful, beautiful boy. Give Milo my love, please.
Thank you. And vice versa. When he spoke about you, he really did send that and express that. So thank you very much for connecting with him as well. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. Oh, we love you all so much.
I was just thinking that, there's a parallel here, because I've always been drawing and doodling in, school books and stuff, and I'm, and some years ago, some person I knew 40 years ago, I met, and he said, "Wow, you're the artist," and I said, "Artist? What do you mean?" And I've had several occasions. The last one to know that's what I'm doing is me. So I recognize that because I don't really feel it's like doing anything. I mean, when it's flowing, it just comes like it's not, seems to be coming through, and but I think with the principles, of course, I know that it's like tapping the kind of creative life force, and I just love that feeling.
I'm really enjoying following your work, Chris.
Oh, thank you.
To sit up there, I love it.
And it just it also makes me quiet.
Yeah.
Which is lots of things don't.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, thank you. But likewise, it's and the same with music, of course. But it's just this getting into that place of that's and photography, But it's just this feeling that in a way that I'm not there. It doesn't mean I don't have a big ego, but at times I'm not there, and that's rather relieving.
Place to be in.
Thank you.
It's lovely to see you. Thank you.
Lovely to see you, Chris. Thank you. I really love your art. I'm a big fan. I keep following you. We're both, absolutely.
I think I might just have to chime in.
Oh, Joe. Hello, my
beautiful friend. Oh, because I have had the privilege of seeing you on some of your journey at close quarters, and whilst it can be perceived as you have the magic paintbrush, it comes easy. I know that you've had to really dig deep, and there's some real grit that's come through, and absolutely inspiring and awesome. And I love you.
I love you too. Thank you for your support. It's been amazing.
Yeah. No, it's just been one of the, I remember at Clarity, you showed me some paintings that you had done years ago, you know, as a non-painter label. I thought they were great. And now I look at what you're painting now.
Thank you so much.
Oh my word.
That was when I was not working for those 6 months. When I went to the counselling session, when the lady said, "How do you feel?" I would say, "Like this." I didn't have any words. I ran out of words.
Really, to see you flourish through the end, you know, through the end of that paintbrush is amazing. It's a wonderful journey, and everyone that is witnessing it is really, you know, inspired by it. So yeah, love it.
Thanks, Joe.
Oh, Joe. To have you here. Oh my God.
Hello, Caroline. How are you doing?
How are you doing? Lovely. Well, the thing is that Joe and Terri were on the year before us, and then we arrived, and they were like, you know, when you go to school and they're like, they're the seniors, they were the mentors. So, you know, and Susie was with me and we sat down together on the first day, and I think then we got stuck together by the hip, and we never, you know, stopped being together since then. So we were a bit like the Joe and the Terri of the next year.
Oh.
Well, I don't know.
I've never laughed so much.
Does that mean one of you was very much got into trouble by the other? Because that was my experience.
But there's that, you spend that year with people and you share things that probably you never said to anybody else. And we have been in that room together, like all of us, and sharing things. But in my experience, I was very lucky to find this amazing soul sister to share so much that I felt that I could say to Susie things I didn't even allow to tell myself, and everything was okay. And I still remember vividly sort of seeing the two of you wandering around the corridors on the breaks, or having a giggle together, and
very special times.
It's really wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah. So let's see if there's anybody else that wants to say anything.
Hello.
Hello, Tracy.
Hello. Yeah, I just would like to say something. First of all, I had no idea what this group was going to be about. I just saw Terri's name and the fact that she was going to talk about her journey and her work. So it's really nice to be here, and I've been following your work. I think I saw. I think there's an article online somewhere when your first exhibition got cancelled, and that's how I found you. And I absolutely love your work.
Bless you very much.
Yeah, yeah, and I've really enjoyed listening tonight. So I'm on the group now, so I shall investigate what it's all about. But it's kind of it's touched. You know, it's what's the word? I'm identifying. That's what I'm trying to say very badly. So yeah,
you said it very well and very clearly. Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tracy. It's lovely to have you here. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So anybody else? So if there's no more questions or things to share, what I would really want to, and I don't know if I'm allowed, but some episodes ago, at the end of one episode with Lily, we sort of talked about something that was coming to form, and today we're talking about this journey of like, you don't know you want to do something, and suddenly at some point, boof, it just, you know what it is, and you go that way. And we have Lily here, and we have Susan here. And if you guys want to unmute yourselves, because you're coming on series 4, if you're not coming before that, if we can't wait. And there's something that actually today we realized that what you're going to do is quite connected what Terri sort of talked a bit at the beginning. So would you like to share with us? I don't know, we still have Lily, or she's
Yep.
Yeah, we still have Lily. So you just unmute yourselves and let us know.
Well, I wasn't expecting this, but thank you.
What happened?
Thank you. And yeah, it's a piece of nice synchronicity, to be honest, because we just exchanged text about our project. Myself, Susan, and Lou Scott, who's a criminal justice lawyer, we were doing all the delivering in prisons for Beyond Recovery. So we did that for 5 years, Susan and myself. And we worked with many, many people. And we saw that, sadly, most of them, I would say, this is a rough estimation, but at least 80% would come, or 70% came from the care system. So we, a few months ago, we kind of moved away from Beyond Recovery, as you know, it was time for us. It's been amazing work, and it's been a joy and huge learning. So we decided to set up a social enterprise that will offer the understanding to children, caregivers, young adults who've been through care, but maybe 16 to 21, that kind of age. So we spent the lockdown setting it all up. We're registered. It's called The Big Simple. And we're very excited, and we're very, we feel that there is definitely a need. And I love young people anyway. I've got a real kind of connection with them. And so I didn't know about your story, you see, Terri. I really didn't know, but it kind of all makes sense now. And I would love if you could maybe write something to express from your perspective how relevant and potentially life-saving this simple understanding is for people who've gone through that or are going through that and think they're broken and think there's something wrong or irreparable. So it would be amazing, because we're setting it all up. We're going to go live probably. We're hoping to go live before the end of the year, and then we're ready to work and do everything we possibly can. So anything that you could share with us, or anything, obviously we would be very, very grateful if you anytime you want to step in, put your magic toes in. But we wouldn't be asking you unless obviously you want, or you're so busy anyway. But maybe So thank you.
I'd be honoured to support in some way. If you contact me after this, maybe, or tomorrow, let me know how I can help. Of course, I'd love to.
Thank you so much.
you.
That would be amazing. Really would. And again, I didn't know that. So that was your background, and it wasn't my background, but I like to think that when you come from love, it's enough. Love and understanding, that's enough. So it didn't stop us to work in prison. You know, us little women, we did so many hours, put in many hours and lots of time and love, and we've seen amazing results that were beyond our wildest dreams. So and when that's the beautiful thing about this understanding, is that if you come from love and understanding, you have everything you need to kind of open up a space where people can see something for themselves. So but with you, I mean, with your take on this would be amazing, and we can put it on, you know, on the website or whatever, you know, it would be amazing.
Well, let me know how, and I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carolina.
Thank you, Carolina.
Trust
Thank
you.
you, Wayne.
I was going to stay quiet. Thank you, Wayne, as well. Yeah, beautiful.
Well, you know, Wayne was through the system, and you were really sweet, and asked him if he would write something for you as well. So
beautiful. Yeah.
So collaboration, I think, is a huge thing at the moment. Gosia, please unmute yourself. Hello,
Hi, thank you. I really enjoyed it. I'm lost for words. I would like to ask probably loads of questions, but it's been great, fantastic. My question was really silly, quick question. Whereabouts in Leicestershire were you? Which school in Leicestershire were you teaching? Because I'm based in Leicestershire at the moment, in a small town called Ashby de la Zouch.
Oh, I know it. So I was in Quorn, Rawlings Community College.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Big
so
Quorn.
Rawlings is which area of Leicestershire is it?
It's North Leicestershire.
North Leicestershire.
I lived in Oadby.
Oh yes, yeah.
It's just outside Loughborough.
Yes.
Rawlings,
okay.
it's just outside Loughborough.
Because I heard of Rawlings actually, because I work with families and children.
It's South Leicester.
South, yes.
Is that? Sorry, Tony's very good at these sort of things. It's South Loughborough. So it's South Loughborough, and you drive into Quorn from Loughborough, don't you? Is that right?
It's North Leicester, South Loughborough.
North Leicester, South Loughborough.
Yes, and because Ashby is northwest, so I'm sure we border. I'm sure we cover Rawlings. Actually, Rawlings they have a special unit.
Yes.
Special education. Yeah, so we cover where I work. I work in Colville. I'm based in one of the towns, and I work with children and families. And I go to different schools. I've never been to Rawlings yet, so yeah, I was just curious. Really, I believe in that kind of coincidence that why we kind of sit on, because I've seen Carolina and Wayne putting this on, and I pop in and kind of not necessarily live, but then I watch it on YouTube later on, and sometimes we just get on and watch things and listen to people, and it was wonderful today, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you. Good luck with your job.
Thank you. It's getting better with 3 principles understanding. I'm getting massive results from families, and it never had them like that. The way that people relate to things and how children and families are changing is wonderful because of my own understanding.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Yeah, keep sharing it.
Yes, I am. I can't stop it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Right, so I don't know if there's anything else, or if like Terri already has to, I don't know, have breakfast by now, or please talk now or forever hold your peace. No, you can always ask questions later.
If you have anything burning or something comes to mind later, feel free to send me a message or Messenger or something, and I will get back to you. So Terri, how can people find you? We'll put all your links, but just say it here so it's also people can hear it. Okay, to look at the website, it's terri.broughton.asssociates.co.uk. Instagram, it's at Terri Broughton Artist. That's it. And Facebook is Terri Broughton Artist. So if they want to contact you for coaching or about the principles, or do they go through the same thing, or do you have a separate? If you contact me at my email address, if it's for coaching specifically, it's Terri with an I .broughton.associates@gmail.com. And then anything to do with the art, you can go through the website. Beautiful. And because it's soon is Christmas and it's the end of the year, and people are going to have Hanukkah and whatever celebration you want to have, even if you want to have a celebration that it's nearly the end of what we seem to call 2020. Other people may call it another year, and that's absolutely fine, and whatever you want to call it, but we're still standing, and I think that is a huge cause for celebration. But maybe people are, I don't know what to buy this person for Christmas, I don't know what to buy this person for Christmas. So can people buy your art? Can people buy do you have prints of them, or do they have to buy your only the pieces of art? So the prints, there's some limited edition prints on the website, so you can buy the paintings themselves, or you can buy the prints at varying sizes. Brilliant. So I guess that is a perfect Christmas present at the moment. Thank you. That would be my guess. Is that him? So I hope by the beginning of January, I see on everybody's walls, some Terri Broughton. So Terri, you've been amazing. Thank you. Thank you again for inviting me. I've enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. And next week, actually, on Wednesday at 7:30, we're going to have no guests or any guests, because we're going to have a party. So anybody that's been here before is going to be here next, or may never have been here, is invited to come. We're going to have a party. So that's what we're going to have. We're going to share things. We're both very, very grateful that there was something about, we were stuck, as you were, when you were describing, Terri, about being, having that sort of meltdown and feeling like you couldn't sort of like, I felt like that so much. I couldn't find the way of sharing the principles and doing the thing I wanted. And we were feeling a bit frustrated. And then who would know that we stopped, we got silent and we just had a conversation, and we're here now. So I know from me personally, I just want to thank everyone else that's been on the calls, and please just join us next week, and we'll have a party and it'll be a blast. It'll be an amazing thing.
Absolutely. And so before we go, because we haven't had enough, there's a Sydney Banks quote that Terri, you said you love very much. And before we finish, I would like to share that. And it says, your thoughts are like the artist's brush. They create a personal picture of the reality you live in. And I think that's from The Missing Link. Is that from The Missing Link, Terri? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I've got a
I
feeling
don't
it is,
remember.
but I just cannot remember. I'm so sorry.
But we'll quote it properly. But it's one of those things that is always sort of in our mind.
Yeah.
And in our case, we wouldn't be here without Sydney Banks and his teachings. So thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week, or we'll see you after. Please keep coming back. We can't do this without you, and you're all amazing. And thank you, my love.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Lovely to see everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Caroline and Wayne. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.